Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up on a comment the chairman made. I think I heard the chairman refer to crypto as risky new financial products, and the insinuation was that they might have the ability to crash our financial system. I think there's a really important distinction that I want to underscore here. If you look at what happened with FTX, what at least appears to have happened by a very extensive coverage, this is fundamentally not about the kind of assets that were held by FTX. It's about what individuals did with those assets. There are a lot of corollaries, there are a lot of analogies here. One comes to mind. In 2011, MF Global, commodity brokerage firm. It was run by former New Jersey Senator John Corzine. It collapsed after customer funds were misappropriated to fill a shortfall caused by the firm's exposure to some trading that went south. Now, nobody suggested that the problem was the instruments that were used. The problem was the use of customer funds. Similarly, the 2008 financial crisis involved disastrous consequences with what people were doing with mortgages. Did we decide we got to ban mortgages? Of course not. So let's look at FTX. It certainly appears to be an egregious failure to treat customer assets as segregated assets. It appears that the leadership there attempted to fill a hole at an affiliated company. And it occurs to me that this is a worry that I don't have for one split second about my stocks or my bonds or my treasuries when they're held in custody by American banks. Mr. Hsu, a predecessor of yours, said that there's no need for any additional guidance. It's a settled matter as to how banks should custody financial assets. And they do it all the time, and they've done it forever. But my understanding is that your office discourages banks from providing custody services, among other services, in the crypto space. And it seems to me if people had access to custody services provided by a wide range of institutions, including regulated financial institutions, they might be able to sleep more comfortably knowing that those assets were unlikely to be used for some completely inappropriate purpose. So is it true that you discourage banks from engaging in crypto custody services?
We discourage banks from doing things that are not safe, sound, and fair. And so the custody that you described of traditional assets, it is true. Banks have been doing that for a long time.
Right.
They know how to do that. We know how to do that. The custody of crypto is different. There are some underlying fundamental issues and questions regarding what does it mean to own custody through a custody, to own crypto through a custody, which have not been fully worked out. So it's not mature.
So this activity, crypto trading, people holding crypto assets, has been going on for many years. Why haven't you provided the clarity? Why haven't you provided guidance so that it is clear and we could have customers have the assurance of having their assets stored by reliable institutions?
If banks can demonstrate that they can do that activity in a safe, sound, and fair manner, we're all ears.
But I think some of this obligation is on you to provide some clarity about how that could work. And as I say, what I'm hearing from the industry is that this activity is being discouraged, and the result is not that the activity doesn't occur, it's just that it goes somewhere where the regulation is often lax. Let me move on to another aspect of this. Vice Chairman Barr, you recently said that there are types of crypto-related activities where the Fed may need to provide guidance to the banking sector. In your view, is custody a category of crypto activity that the banking sector can provide and could use some guidance?
Thank you, Senator Toomey. I do think that it would be useful for us to provide guidance to the banking sector about how to safely custody crypto assets. It's something I look forward to working with my colleagues on. I think we've seen in the context of recent events that if you have a set of firms that are trying to operate outside the regulatory perimeter, trying to avoid compliance issues, that can create enormous problems for consumers, for investors. There's huge problems that these investors experience that I don't think anyone wants to see happen.
Let me just a quick follow up here. My understanding is the SEC has put out guidance recently that would require issuing firms that custody crypto to put that crypto on their own balance sheet. Now, that is contrary to the way custody services are treated in every other category of asset that I can think of and always has been. If that were the case, if you're a firm that doesn't care about having a bloated balance sheet, maybe you don't care, but banks have a reason to be very concerned about increases in their balance sheet because it has capital requirements. Wouldn't this impose a significant cost on banks if they are, in fact, obligated to put all of the custody assets, crypto custody assets, on their balance sheets?
Well, we've seen banks operate in a pretty cautious way to date. There are very few institutions that are currently seeking to engage in custody activity. Of course, we require all of our regulated financial institutions to comply with accounting rules, including accounting interpretations issued by the SEC. And so publicly traded banks would need to comply with that rule. And it would have the result that custody of crypto assets, you would need to hold capital against
in a way that is not required of any other category of financial assets.
In a way that is not required for traditional custody of non-crypto assets. And so that differential would impact bank decision making.
Thank you very much.